Hi, I'm Amy. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm sharing 3 easy crockpot recipes. These are perfect now that we're transitioning into fall, but they're also perfect any time of year that you want just a really quick and easy dinner. If you're new here, I'm a wife and a mom to a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and I love sharing family-friendly recipes that are easy and also healthier. Today's video is in collaboration with Tiffany at Small Town 6 and Jessica Myros. I will link their channels below. There's also others in a playlist, so you can check out any of those videos below. First, I'm making a super simple recipe. It's just 3 ingredients in the crock pot, plus 3 ingredients that I'm going to assemble at dinner time. I'm going to be making toasty sandwiches. I trimmed off a tiny bit of the fat and I'm just gonna put the meat in. I got a packet of this mild chili seasoning, so I'm gonna go ahead and pour that entire thing in. Now I'm gonna pour this barbecue sauce on it. You could use any kind of barbecue sauce you'd like. And I'm doing approximately half a cup of this. Now I'm just gonna kind of rub it all over, and this needs to cook for 9 to 10 hours on low. So it's 7 a.m. so this will be ready just in time for dinner. I'll be back later to show you what it looks like when it's all done and we can make those sandwiches together. It's been an hour and I just decided to add about another half cup of barbecue sauce for about a total of a cup. I just thought it needed a little bit more liquid. It's a ton of meat, so it's 3 pounds. So that's what I did. At this point, it's been 9 hours, so I'm gonna go ahead and shred the meat up. And my favorite thing to do with shredded meat in the crock pot is to put the lid back on, either keep it warm or turn it off, and just kind of let it soak up the juices. It gets really juicy and really tender that way. So now I'm just taking the rolls. I'm using mini rolls and putting that meat on there. You can serve these sandwiches open-faced, or you can close them up like a sandwich. And I just put some shredded cheddar on top and then some hot honey. My obsession with hot honey is real. If you want to see my last video, I did include another recipe that has hot honey in it. I put this in the oven for about 10 minutes at 350, basically just until the cheese melted. And so the rolls get a little bit crispy, the meat is still juicy and tender, and that cheese melts on top. We all enjoyed this one. It's so versatile. You could put it over rice, on buns, wraps, just by itself with a veggie on the side if you want a lower carb option. But honestly, it has a really good depth of flavor and it's so tasty, especially for so few ingredients and just for being such an easy recipe. Next, I'm making potato soup. When I think of potato soup, I think mushy and bland and one note, but this was nothing like that. This had just a really rich, deep flavor. The first step I'm doing for this recipe is cooking up some bacon. My favorite way to cook up bacon is to cook it in the oven at 400. I do about like 20 or 25 minutes, but I like the bacon pretty crispy over here. So I'm also going to go ahead and wash the potatoes, peel them. I cut out any spots that the potatoes had, and then I also just diced the potatoes. I will definitely link this recipe as well as the 2 others, but the recipe actually calls for 2 different types of potatoes, but I only bought one kind of potato, so I just used one. I did make a few other changes to the recipe. I actually used bacon instead of pancetta. I halved the amount of potatoes and veggie broth, but I left all the other ingredients, the spices and the evaporated milk, the same. So besides for the potatoes, I added salt, I added some veggie broth, I added thyme, pepper, garlic powder. Since we loved it the way I made it, I will include the changes that I made in the description. And it gave everything a nice mix, and I cooked this on low for 6 hours. I took the bacon out of the oven. Bacon just makes everything better, doesn't it? Although you could definitely keep it vegetarian by adding something salty and crunchy on top, like a cracker or kind of broken up tortilla chips or something like that. So this is the way the bacon looked, and I'm just going to set it aside, and then once it cools a little bit, I'll just chop it up. The soup has been cooking away in the crock pot for 6 hours, so now I'm going to make a slurry to thicken it. So I'm just using flour and evaporated milk, and I'm just going to pour it into the crock pot, give it a really nice stir, and then I'm just going to kind of put it back on low for about 20 more minutes, just so that the flour is cooked through. And also to ensure that it's nice and smooth and the flour doesn't have any clumps. Here are the toppings, and you can see in just a second that there wasn't any clumps. It was really, really nice and smooth. And there you have it. It's all done and ready to eat. It's so good. Honestly, I think it's the toppings that really make it. Then you have a variety of texture and flavor. So you have kind of the crunch from the bacon, that bright kind of onion flavor from the green onion, the cheddar that kind of melts in there. Plus it's not mushy. The potatoes are soft, but they have kind of a nice texture. They stay together, and the soup is just thick. It's just really, really good. I'm definitely gonna be making this one again. I've never made chicken marsala, but I figure now's the time. So I'm throwing everything in the crock pot and I'm gonna serve it over rice. I'm slicing up the mushrooms first, and I've been thinking about what you can do if you don't like mushrooms. And I know it wouldn't be a traditional chicken marsala, but I think you could use any sort of green vegetable and it would be really tasty, like peas, broccoli, asparagus, anything like that. So once the mushrooms were chopped up, I chopped up the garlic. You can also just mince it or use like ground garlic. And I'm also chopping up the parsley. I'm going to add the parsley later on once everything's cooked up, but I just chopped everything at once. Here are all of the ingredients for this recipe. Not a ton of ingredients. One of the reasons I picked this recipe, and actually the other two, is when I'm making crockpot meals, I want them all to be really easy and simple. But I put the chicken in, added salt, pepper, the garlic that I minced up, as well as the mushrooms that I sliced, and then I just topped it all with that Marsala cooking wine. And I cooked this on low for 6 hours. So here is everything that I have left to add to this recipe: the parsley that I chopped up, water, and cornstarch. So after 6 hours, I took half a cup of water, added in some cornstarch. I was a little bit late on the cornstarch because I ran out, and it would have been a little bit thicker if I had added in all the cornstarch. But I took the chicken out of the crock pot so I could add in that slurry and mixed it up really well so that it got nice and thick. Then I added in the chicken again, covered it, cooked it for like 20 or 30 minutes just to make sure the cornstarch was cooked and it just thickened up a bit. I served this over rice. According to the recipe, you can serve it over rice or mashed potatoes. So I just took rice and put a little bit of butter and some salt in it, and then I put that chicken on top, the mushrooms, some extra sauce, and I had already cooked up some green beans the night before. So I just went ahead and added those to the side, topped it with that fresh parsley that we chopped up. Yum. We all enjoyed this recipe. The parsley provides a nice kind of pop of fresh flavor. I will say 2 chicken breasts wasn't really a ton. I would probably do 4 chicken breasts like the original recipe said next time. But really tasty, and I loved it over the rice. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you next time.